Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Minister Moments, Lord willing, every Friday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time and 3 o'clock Central Time. I'm here in my office in Jacksonville, and we've made the move, and we're here and glad to be here. I want you to understand that I appreciate all of the prayers and the notes and the letters and all that you've done to in the homegoing of my wife, to remember her and to be try to be a comfort to me. I miss her. We're married 58 years, and what a tremendous helpmeet, the best pastor's wife a man could ever ask for, and wife and grandmother, great grandmother, and I miss her. I find myself, I know you think I've lost my mind, but I could almost hear her. She'd say, "Shut those lights off. You think we're a bank?" Or get in the car and she would say, "Put that seatbelt on." I don't think a real man likes seatbelts, but she said, "You can put that seatbelt on." And what a tremendous blessing. I miss calling her when a plane would land. I would call her. I get to the motel, I'd call her. I'd call her Sunday morning before going to teach Sunday school or preach. And she would ask me, "What are you teaching today?" And I would tell her. And then she would say, "What are you preaching today?" And I would tell her. And then she would say, "Is that one of my sermons?" She was sharp. She was very sharp and a great history buff. She would correct PBS or the History Channel when they would say something, and she would say, "That's not right. That's not." And I would say, "How do you know?" And she said, "Well, get that third book off that shelf up there." She was a Abraham Lincoln expert and Civil War and the ladies of the Civil War. She had several books that she loved. But I want to thank you. This has been hard. This has not been easy. I miss her. Uh, oh, I'm in a beautiful home here. She would have loved it. Now she wouldn't come back for nothing, but she would love it. I've got a Lake Asbury. I'm on a Lake Asbury, in the house that I bought, and there's a little boat back there. She was a great fisher woman, and I hate fishing. I hate it, but she loved it. She'd get that broad brim, big hat and sit out there, and she'd take our kids fishing at a little place where we paid $1. They'd stock it with fish, and she would go out there, and she just had a wonderful time. And but she would have loved it here. She would have loved it. Now she wouldn't come back for nothing, and I wouldn't want her to come back. She suffered, and it was hard. Her death was a hard death, and I find myself in pain about that. I just hate the thought. I wish there was something I could do. I held her; she breathed her last breath, and anyway, she's having a time. She loved my mama, and I guarantee you that they're still hugging and shouting. But anyway, ministry moments, I'll still be here, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. And even if it does rise, I'll be here. But every Friday, and you join me if you will. Just brief, it's not very long, but ministry ideas, ministry concepts, and things that might be a blessing to you. Today, I want to talk to you about successful Bible conferences. Successful Bible conferences. I think two good meetings a year. I felt like that was a good thing to do, and I did. The soul winning clinic that we held in Texas, we held 30 of them. Had two the first year that I was there, and it wasn't something that I sought for. Wasn't something that I tried to build. It was just something that God drew attention to because we were winning souls, soul winning fire. Incredible what went on during those days. And and of course we were so rough, we were so hard. Uh, and nowadays everybody's poor people, poor people. Yeah, all the people that got saved and missing hell and going to heaven, it was worth a little extra pressure. But this is the army of the Lord. You do know that, don't you? Brother House used to call it boot camp. And he was a great example of what we should be, and what he was is what we should be. I'm nothing new. I just learned from Dr. Rice. I learned from Dr. Lee Robertson, Dr. Tom Malone, Curtis Hudson, Lester Roloff. I preach for those men. They preach for me. We preach together. We amazing ministries back in those days. And it's not over. We have an ebb and flow, and we have highs and lows. And before there's a great move of God, there's always a lull period. History has proven that. And so if we are in a lull period now, you better buckle your seatbelt, because there's a bunch of young men out here that have not they've not bowed their knee to Baal. And a lot of young men. And I'm going to have a podcast one of these days, and I'm going to introduce some of these young men to you. They're getting the job done. Nobody knows them, but God does. But anyway, one of the things we did that really helped, when God gives you something, you got to give it away. God gave us a miraculous church, LBT, in 1980 and following. Tremendous. Well, I had a responsibility. People would call. My good friend, Dr. Howard Hall from Shreveport Baptist Temple, called me and said, "Can I bring my staff over and you talk to them about what's going on?" I mean, it was amazing what was happening. I mean, hundreds of people getting saved and baptized, with a church that only baptized 52 people the year before I went there. Something electric vying that happened. It was amazing. And then a pastor from Dangerfield, Texas, called me. He said, "I heard that Dr. Hall brought some of his staff. Could I come and I spend some time?" I said, "Sure." And there were 12 pastors showed up that second time, same year, 1981, same year. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And that became a successful annual Bible conference. The Soul Winning Clinic was birthed then and grew. And every state in the union, many foreign countries. It was, and by the way, Pastor, I'm rambling now, aren't I? But I've earned the right. Pastor Sergio Ali of Bayshore, New York, with the homegoing of my wife, it's going to allow me to travel in Central and South America. He's been holding our soul winning clinics in those countries. I preached and taught a couple of them, but I couldn't travel much because of my dear wife and take care of her, which I was glad to do. But he's establishing some more soul winning clinics. So next year, 2025, I believe we'll be able to announce several soul winning clinics in South and Central and South America. And it's going to be exciting. And I want to thank Brother Ali. He's been a dear friend to me and to the Soul Winning Clinic. And I'm very, very grateful. Okay, back to the subject. You thought I forgot, didn't you? Successful Bible conferences. I would suggest no more than 2 a year. We had a teen convention in the summer and had a spring and fall campaigns or conferences. All right. So number one, brainstorm, get your people together. If you don't have a staff, that's okay. Get your lay leaders together and brainstorm a theme and decorations. I'm a decoration nut. I want everything, man. Decorate, decorate, decorate. And Mrs. Spencer, Luann Spencer, God bless her. She, I can't tell some colors, blues and greens and so on, bright. So I like bright things. So I would say to her, "Now look, you make it as bright as could be." I wanted it that way. And if you remember coming to those clinics, you remember the decorations. Well, that was Mrs. Luann Spencer, and she would take the college lady students, and she would take ladies in the church, and they would, God bless them, they'd be early in the morning and late at night just trying to perfect everything. And what a great lady. And my hats off to you, Mrs. Spencer. God bless you. She's been dealing with a lot of health problems, but God bless her. I came in one day and we had a baseball theme, and Paul Duckett Jr. would write our theme song every year for the conference, and he did an amazing job. But I walked in, and she'd decorated everything, and I think it was a Thursday, or it had been a Thursday. So she said, "Would you go in and take a look at it?" And I walked in, looked at it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And she looked at me and she saw on my face that that was a dislike. And she hesitated. She said, "You don't like it, do you?" I said, "I'm sorry, Luann. It's just not what I had in mind." And she didn't gripe, didn't complain. She spent all night Thursday night, all day Friday, redid everything before we started on Sunday. Just, I mean, just an amazing lady. But decoration was a big thing with me, big thing. My wife would sit on the second pew, so to the left. We have 12 sections lower floor, 10 section balcony. And when she would come in and see decorations on the wall, she'd lean over to the people sitting next to her and say, "My husband wants money. He's getting us ready for the kill." But number one, brainstorming. Number two, host it annually. Our sorting clinic was an annual affair, something they could look forward to. Now, I was always amazed at pastor school, the people who raised their hands and said, "This is my first time here." And so you'll have a lot of that, but you'll be able to host an annual. You'll get new people all the time. And we did get new people all the time. So number one, brainstorm, a Bible theme, decorations, start assigning things. And by the way, we always start the day after the closing of a campaign, pros and cons, that type of thing. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday before, the Sunday prior. So if our conference started on Monday, we urged delegates to come early on Sunday so they could see the people, the way the service went, the invitation, the baptism. We averaged 150 baptisms a week. Not we have at 4,464 the last year that I pastored. But I wanted them to see how it was organized. The invitation was organized, everything. And we pointed it all out and taught on it during the week. But it was nice if they would come early and see it on themselves on Sunday. All right. Number one, brainstorm a Bible theme decorations and assign decoration. Number two, host it annually. Let them know they can come back next year at the same time. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday before so that they can come in early and see the mechanism, see how it operates decently and in order. And so get them to try to get them to come early. That way it helps the conference because they're able then, as you teach during the week, they're able to see exactly, oh, I see. That's what happened this past Sunday. Number four, schedule older, successful preachers. One of the best advice that a lot of great advice. Bill House couldn't give you bad advice, but he would say to me, "Now, Brother Gray, you have been older preachers. You have been older preachers, successful older preachers," and I did. And I wanted our people to hear them. Now, my big day message, I preferred that it was me. Now, a couple of times I had Dr. Curtis Hudson, nobody any better, salvation messages. But I wanted the people, we got the people there. I wanted them to see Daddy. I wanted them to see the preacher. And so I felt like that was very important. There were exceptions. And I made exceptions for those who knew how to preach a salvation message. I didn't preach a salvation message every Sunday. Church is not meant for lost people. Church is not meant for unsaved people. Bus ministry is not meant for the lost. It's not meant for the unsaved. All Sunday school, not meant for the unsaved. Now, thank God if they come, hear the gospel and get saved, that's good. But I wanted to keep the orchard healthy. And then the orchard would produce the fruit. But twice a year, I would put an emphasis and say to the people, it'd be the shortest message you've ever heard. And it's going to be very simple on salvation. People that wouldn't listen to you, try to get them saved, invite them to come to win a contest. And they would come. So I didn't preach a salvation. I put a little hook there at the end of the sermon, every sermon. If you get my sermon tape or on the internet, you can get them now and listen to them. You'll notice that Sunday morning was short because we baptized so many people. And then Sunday night, it seemed like it would go on forever. Some of those pictures up there, those are men that died in the service. And the little bus kid said, "Was that the morning service or the night service?" Anyway, brainstorm, have a Bible theme, have decorations to reflect the campaign or the conference, and then host it annually. Have it, they can depend on it every year. Puts the heat on you and also them. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday prior. Let them and encourage them to come early so they can see what's going on, so they can, oh my, oh my, I can do this. All right. Then schedule older, successful preachers to come in. That's what I did. And we would get the newspaper people we had Lee Robertson on the front page of the paper, Dr. Jack Hyles on the front page of our Longview News Journal, and interview Dr. Hyles. Interviewed, and a full page thing of interviewing. Brother Hyles brought all of his books and gave it to the editor. And Dr. Robertson, front page of the paper. Lester Roloff, front page of the paper. We had a good relationship. I made sure I had a good relationship with the local paper and the editor, religious editor, so that we could promote big days. We had a motorcycle guy. You had him too, hadn't you? Jump, I guess it was 12 buses, 13 buses. And they got a picture of him midair going over. And we were front page of the paper. And good PR is very important. And these people are looking for stories. They're looking for somebody who's got something exciting going on, especially the religious section. All right. So number one, brainstorm. You want to get a Bible theme and decorations lined up. Host it annually. Number two. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday prior. Number four, schedule older successful preachers to come and make them available to the press. Number five, offer free motel rooms for those who register. Now, we started doing that, and oh my goodness, it made a difference. So you register. If you register, then we would get a motel room for you and your dear wife or family, and then for the week. And it helped. It helped. We had a 2-for-1 one year. If you register, you get to bring a delegate with you for free, the second delegate. All right. So number one, brainstorm. You want to have a Bible theme and decorations. Make a big deal out of it. Number two, host it annually. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday prior. Number four, schedule older successful preachers to preach. Next, offer free motel rooms for those who register. Number six, assign a family for each delegate. We would get the motel rooms. Then we would have different families say, okay, I'll do the fruit basket for this room, this delegate, and we'll write a personal note from our family. Now, we had a lot of people who came back year after year and came up with a connection to that family that showed concern and showed care about them. They would make notes about and the food baskets were big, praying for you, welcome back, or whatever it might be. But we had tried to build that connection between our families and them. And we got families to pay for the motel room when they could. Now, if they couldn't, we put it in a part of the budget. Now, your offerings you only get $1 per head. So don't you expect to take up these offerings and offer to cover all the expense. Last sorting clinic cost me $85,000, and we had to make it a part of the budget. The registration not going to pay for it, and your families are not going to be able to pay for all of the motel rooms. So you're going to have to take care of that. All right, so we're talking about successful Bible conferences. Number one, brainstorm. You've got to brainstorm pro and con from last year's to this year. Bible theme, decoration, very important. Number two, host it annually. Let them make sure they depend on it. Number three, plan a big day the Sunday prior. Number four, schedule older successful preachers to come. Oh, I loved having Dr. Lee Robertson. I loved having Lester Roloff. I loved having those men, Curtis Hudson, Dr. Hyles, Dr. Tom Malone was one of my favorite, and having those men come in and use them because they'll not be with you used to forever. Dr. Hyles used to say he'd get up and he would say, "Now sit up straight and listen. We're not going to have Dr. Rice now. He's getting older. We'll not be able to have him." He said, "Now when I would get up, the guy would say, 'Now sit up straight, listen, because Dr. Hyles will not be able to have for long.'" Now they're saying the same thing about me, or hoping. But anyway, brainstorm, host it annually, plan a big day the Sunday before. Really push for a big day. Next, schedule older, successful preachers to preach for you. Number five, offer free motels for those who register. Now they have to register. They can't just show up. They have to register. That helps you. All right. Assign a family for each delegate, a personal note, big fruit basket. Number seven, we got to hurry. You're not listening fast enough. Number seven, honor local pastors each night. Honor local pastors. Oh, we had great relationship. Dr. Larry May, Mesquite, Texas. What a dear friend. And what a great man of God and a great personal friend. He was a Hyles-Anderson graduate, and we would men like him from Tyler. We had pastors from Tyler area, Texarkana, Shreveport, and different local pastors who were doing great jobs. Not well known, but I wanted to make sure they were known. And I looked for those who've been in the ministry for decades, looking for people who've been around for a long time. And so we would honor those men. I'd buy the pastor a suit. I remember one time at Dr. Vaperzan's up in Belleville, his first night, well, the big church, the church that brought the most, would get a bus. And all that building was packed. When I got up to preach that night on Monday night, they were sitting on the platform, on the stairway. They were everywhere. That building was jam packed with people. And he gave the bus away, but he didn't have anything to give away the next night. And so the next night, all of a sudden, the crowd vanished. Now, Curtis Hudson used to say, uh, I'll get them here the first night, but you better get them back the next night. So honor local pastors each night. And then my last point, I've already said it, but offer a gift to the church who brings the most, the church that brings the most. And this will encourage them to load the buses and to come. And if you've got the older preacher, the successful older preacher ready to preach, they'll come for that. They might come to hear you, but they'll come to hear Lee Robertson. They'll come to hear, oh, one crazy nut one year ahead, Dr. Robertson, building jam packed, and people, all the power of God was there. But Dr. Robertson, point one, point two, point three, a very simple message, but powerful. And I sat within a few feet of him in my chair, and oh, I was in tears. I was so overwhelmed by his presence and by the power of God. And one local idiot pastor come up to me and he said, well, that wasn't a very bombastic sermon. And I said, well, son, when you start running 10,000 in Sunday school, I'll come hear you talk. Uh, but for some reason, we can't let these older men fade. Quit. I know we were rough, you poor babies. We were so hard on you. It was so hard. Can you imagine a guy showing up for the Marines and the guy ready trying to get you to join the Marines? He said, come in, son. Would you have a seat? Would you like some hot chocolate? Would you like a donut? How's your mama? How's your daddy? Any prayer requests? No. They're nice to you. And they'll say, sign on a dotted line and we'll pay for your education. And then the next day they cuss you, they shave you bald, and they scream at you for the next 4 years. Um, yeah, a Marine ought to be prepared. He's putting his life on the line. Well, that's what we're doing. We're going to fight a good fight. We're in the Lord's army. You panty waist, you young guys, you haven't fought any battles. Everything's been handed to you. And you're going to have to learn how to fight for what's right. And it's going to come. You're going to have to stand up and fight for what's right. And somebody's going to accuse you of being too hard. Now, that's why it's imperative. We've got to get the job done. We have to. I think one of the things that would help is a successful Bible conference. And you could have a successful Bible conference if you wanted to. All right, quickly, we got to hurry. You're not listening fast enough. Number one, brainstorm. Pros and cons. After you finish one, start working on the next one. So Bible theme, decorations, assign decorations. Number two, host it annually. Number three, plan a big day the prior Sunday. Number four, schedule older successful preachers. There are some around. There are some who've built great works that you don't know about because you got too many young preachers throwing them under the bus and going to this emerging church thing and so on. All right, number five, offer free motel rooms for those who register. Number six, assign a family for each delegate. Let them get a fruit basket. Let them write a personal note. They will come back to next year. All right. And they'll want to get to connect with that family. Number seven, honor local pastors each night who've been there a while. They've been there a while. You honor them each night. And then offer a gift to the church that brings the most people during the service. I went a little long today. I hope you forgive me, but I think there's good stuff here. And we've proved it. I'm in my 52nd year now of ministry, 33 of those pastoring, and a lot of learning that went on, a lot. I thank God for the mentors that I had, and the mentors. And by the way, they were rough. They were rough, but they fought the same battles we're fighting. Back in the 60s, it was the Jesus freaks. The Woodstock, well, they had their own Christian Woodstock. I mean, long hippie hair, half dressed, half clothed. I remember one time I was in New Orleans. You don't mind if I ramble a little bit, do you? I was in New Orleans preaching for a child evangelism fellowship ministry. I forget the name of it now, but my wife and I drove to New Orleans and parked our car to walk to the meeting I was going to preach. And there were a couple of men across the street. My wife said, well, here, let's give them some tracts. I said, okay. So my wife and I walked over there, and they had long hippie hair and looked like hippies. And so I walked over and I handed them gospel tract. And the one guy looked at me and my wife. He said, well, ain't that something? He said, you took a look at us and thought we were unsaved, thought we were unregenerate. He said, that's just like you fundamentalists. And I said, excuse me. First of all, I didn't know that you were saved. I'm glad you are. How did you know we were fundamentalists? Oh, our short hair. Oh, my head. I see. I said, looks to me like you're a little judgmental. It didn't go over very well, but I had fun with it. God bless you. Ministry Moments every Friday. Please subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe. And it's not going to be as long every week, and I apologize for going over. But thank you for being a part. Ministry Moments YouTube, Bob Gray Sr. Solve church problems. You can go there. We have a Ministry Moments podcast that you can sign up for. God bless you. Take care. Soul winning tomorrow now. I've got to keep people out of hell. And I had one baptism last weekend. I had a dry haul the week before, but I had one this week. God bless you. Soul winning tomorrow. Let's have a great weekend. God bless you.